Call to order the regular session of the Mayor and Council of the City of Bisbee County of Cochise and State of Arizona to be held on Tuesday, May 7th, 2019 at 7 p.m. or at 7:10 at the City Hall building 915 South Toberville Road, Bisbee, Arizona. Ms. Coronado, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Gabe Lindstrom.
Here.
Councilmember Joni Giacomino. Councilmember Bill Higgins.
Here.
Mayor David M. Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Leslie Johns.
Here.
Councilmember Joan Hanson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Anna Klein.
Here.
City staff, Stephen Calkin, Interim City Manager, Ashley Coronado, City Clerk, Carrie Bagley, Finance Director, Jesus Haro, Public Works Director, Albert E. Chavez, Police Chief, George Castillo, Fire Chief, Britt Hansen, City Attorney.
Thank you. For our invocation moment of silence, I happened to see the other day that when we talk about the problems within our country and politics and ugliness and hate and discontent, that a couple days ago we just passed the 30th anniversary of Tiananmen Square. And certainly reminds me, and I believe reminds almost all of us when we reflect on that, the great place that we do live and the fact that we are allowed to speak and to be heard. Tiananmen Square 30 years ago, that it's believed thousands of people killed and over 100,000 arrested. And so I'd just like to reflect just a couple minutes on indeed how lucky we are to be in the United States. Thank you. Would you please stand with me and join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Welcome. This is, I have a proclamation, Letter Carriers Food Drive Day, and I shall read the proclamation. Letter Carriers Food Drive Day. Whereas the National Association of Letter Carriers Branch 704 represents all letter carriers in Tucson and many other post offices in southern Arizona. And whereas NALC Branch 704, the United States Postal Service and the AFL-CIO have joined together with the local community food banks for the past 16 years for the annual Letter Carriers Food Drive. And whereas the food drive was initiated in 1991 to assist the many community food banks, food pantries, and homeless shelters throughout the nation. And whereas the food drive effort is a community-based endeavor, and all food items donated remain within each local community to serve the needs of that community. Whereas in the year 2018, NALC Branch 704 letter carriers collected 273,652 pounds of food into southern Arizona. And now, therefore, be resolved that I, David M. Smith, Mayor of the City of Bisbee, Arizona, do hereby proclaim May 11th, 2019 as Letter Carriers Food Drive Day. In the City of Bisbee, and hereby encourage all citizens to join in this important effort by leaving non-perishable food products at their mailboxes on Saturday, May 11th, so that their letter carriers can collect them as they deliver their routes. And further, to offer our appreciation and admiration for our local letter carriers for the enthusiasm and the unique contribution they make towards the betterment of our community. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Bisbee to be affixed this 7th day of May, 2019. David M. Smith, Mayor. I believe downtown they have a box, as I believe, for you to leave your foodstuffs at the main post office. I wanted to mention that this last Saturday was incredible. Old Bisbee Firewise came into official recognition. The Department of Forestry was there and presented me on behalf of the city with a plaque indicating that Bisbee was an official, Old Bisbee was an official Firewise community. And with that, we had our fire department, a piece of apparatus, and we had in the area of 120 volunteers that came from all over, mostly Old Bisbee, with rakes and shovels and weed eaters and everything else, and cleared a whole bunch of land. By cleared, I don't mean clear cut. I mean, they clear branches up to a certain level, and they cut grass down to a certain level. And much of that was on city land. And so I particularly want to express our appreciation as a city to all of these volunteers jumping in and not only fixing their own properties, but fixing our properties. And so the plaque is up front if anybody wants to see it. And again, I want to thank Al Anderson and Ann Carl, Danielle Bouchevet, and Stephanie Peavy. There's way too many, but those were the movers and shakers and getting some grants and getting some funding and getting this thing operational. So it was actually just a great day to see. Oh, Rob Page provided coffee and pastries. Peyton at High Desert provided pastries. And somebody provided lunch, I don't know who, but in any event, it was a great day to see, once again, our Bisbee community come together. So thank you all. So we'll be moving on to call to the public. Allison Williams.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City staff, members of the public, and the Fourth Estate, of course. I have a few things, different hats. First of all, on behalf of the Bisbee Bloomers, if you notice the new landscaping outside, the Bisbee Bloomers mission is the beautification of Bisbee, and we felt City Hall is very deserving. So this is phase one. Part of the vision that I had included a picnic table. I didn't know about the bench, but Mayor David Smith stepped in to personally sponsor the furniture out there, which was built by the Bisbee High School CTE construction class, who has been doing amazing work for our community in their classroom. So thank you, Mayor, and the Bloomers. We have just been awarded an LSTA grant of $4,000 for juvenile nonfiction, which will come before you to ask for acceptance, but I wanted to announce it to really revivify our children's nonfiction section, which is excellent already, but it's going to be even better. This Friday we're having an ice cream social at the Melody Lane Copper Queen Library Annex from 12:30 to 2:30 p.m. with free ice cream, petting zoo, a live band, and lots of activities. And we're doing this to get people interested in registered for summer reading program, which is June and July. And I just want to say that one of the special events that we're having for summer reading is astronaut Mark Kelly is going to be joining us to talk about what it's like in space and the experiment with his twin brother, I hope, because that's what I'm interested in. And so lots of other really fun things happening there, but we're going to invite all of you guys if you would like to come. And the last thing, just personally, is I want to congratulate the top 3 students of the graduating 8th grade class at Lowell Junior High School, where I volunteer. Those top 3 students are all Copper Queen Library patrons and use their library cards regularly, so take that as a hint. And they are Ember Golden, valedictorian, Brianna Postal, salutatorian, and Scout Day. So congratulations to them.
Thank you. Ms. Cohen?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I would like to bring to your attention that you are having a presentation this evening on the Jacobs performance at the wastewater treatment plant, and that contract in terms of its legality has still not been determined. On January 22nd, the council had before it a motion to ratify the 5-year contract, and that motion failed. And so therefore, there really is no legal contract that Jacobs is operating under right now. There is a hearing in Superior Court this Thursday at 1:30 before Laura Cardinal. Judge Cardinal will be determining whether the city actually is required to follow its own code, and having the council determine the legitimacy of the contract and the procurement process. That's at 1:30 this Thursday. Thank you.
Call to the public when people speak doesn't necessarily mean that what they indicate is gospel. That is their opinions. Mr. Andrew Watts.
Nice cozy arrangement. I like the council on the same level. That's good. So I just have a small request. That shouldn't be anything controversial, I don't think. Where my business is, and also the same property where I live at 139 Clawson Avenue. I've owned and lived there since 1986. And so at some point along the line, we've started having this stair climbing right in front of my house, and then we moved to carrying a block of ice up the stairs, right? The stairs that are my sole access to my house, and takes place about 5 feet from the front door of my business. And so last year, during that event, there was an individual with a bullhorn attached to his belt, holding a microphone, pacing around. Most of the time he was over in front of the busy Vogue place. So make a hell of a racket. I tried closing my door, it didn't really help any. With that bullhorn, which I'm not quite sure what he was even saying on why they need a bullhorn for that event. It's not like there's a stadium with people that need to hear anything. And at one point, he decided to start pacing in front of my shop. And I asked him, "Why are you over here? Can you stay over there, please?" And so he just kind of smirked at me and didn't say anything. And a little while later, the only people that actually came in my store during that whole event, when there's about 1,000 people outside, well, not that part of the event, earlier, people come for the event, it's kind of a big party, and hey, I'd love to take the time off and just party too, but I have work to do. I have things I actually have to get done in my business. And so he decided to come back over and pace directly in front of my door back and forth, so as he's walking, his bullhorn is facing in my door, a good percentage of the time, directly blasting whatever it was he was saying into my business. And the only people that actually came to my shop during that whole event told me they had to leave because of the noise. So, yeah, I think it would be a very tiny favor to just, pull that agenda item and add a little item on there about no amplified speakers during the event of the ice climb. So that's all I got.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. General business accounts payable.
I move that we pay accounts payable in the amount of $342,491.42.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion. We have a second. Council, any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
On page 2, the first thing I have is not a question, it's just a correction on the typo. For the office supplies, it says roller instead of ruler. And since it's for the minutes, you know. And then the next thing I have also on page 2, again, is the water line, or the water bill at $617.75. And I was wondering if Mr. Popkin had made progress with Arizona Water on the line.
I'm going to tell you what they told me. They came, they visited, they looked at the entire facility. They indicated to me that they would be back next month, which should be this month now, with a new calculation of how much water they estimate we use. And they wanted one more month on the bill, and I said, well, $600 for, you know, flushing 3 toilets and washing your hands seems like a lot. For those people who aren't aware, there's a 4-inch meter on this building, and that 4-inch meter was put here for the purpose of a much larger group of people because it was a detention facility. Since we've been in here, of course, the water usage has lowered quite a bit. What we've asked Arizona Water to do is to remove that 4-inch meter and install a smaller meter, because the base price of your water bill is determined by the size of your meter. I'm expecting to hear from them in the next week or so, and they have promised me that the next bill will reflect a lower rate. So basically, they told me we're going to nick you for one more month.
I spoke with them today about several issues. They have a new vice president came down to Bisbee, and they did indicate that this is certainly on the drawing board. But one of the problems was that they figured bills based on past performance, and our history has left us because the old city hall burned long enough ago that that history drops off in the back end. And so they don't have the normal amount of months that they normally use to calculate it. And so that's what they're coming up, as Mr. Popkin said, with a calculation of, I guess, what's been used in the last couple of months. It should be done very, very quickly, hopefully for the next meeting, but we'll have to see.
Okay, and then continuing on page 2, well, it's the very bottom of page 2 and the very top of page 3. We have telecommunications on 2, and it's for $641.78, and then on 3, it says telecommunications new for $1,655. What is that?
The $1,655 it's 2 months of billing when we first moved in, so it's the first month and second month to include all the equipment as well. And then that $641 is going to be our normal-ish telephone bill.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Thank you, ma'am.
I guess on page 6, along the same lines of the City Hall water line, did we work out anything reference to cemetery, since there is no one?
Yes, in the same meeting, I discussed the issue out at the cemetery. When they come back to see me again, we're going to go on a field trip.
Okay. Anybody else? Hearing none, we have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor of paying accounts payable, signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed, same sign. Motion carried unanimously. Move on to the consent agenda. Items A through P. No double numbers this time. Item A, approval of the minutes of the regular session of mayor and council held on April 16, 2019 at 7 p.m. B, approval of the minutes of the regular session of mayor and council held on February 19, 2019 at 7 p.m. C, approval of the minutes of the regular session of mayor and council held on December 18, 2018 at 7 p.m. D, approval of the minutes of the regular session of mayor and council held on October 2nd, 2018 at 7 p.m. E, approval of the minutes of the work session of mayor and council held on April 22nd, 2019 at 5:30 p.m. F, approval of the minutes of the work session of mayor and council held on April 23rd, 2019 at 5:30 p.m. G, approval of the minutes of the work session of mayor and council held on October 2nd, 2018 at 6 p.m. H, approval of the minutes of the work session of mayor and council held on May 15th, 2018 at 5:30 p.m. I, approval of the minutes of the special session of mayor and council held on August 30th, 2018 at 5:01 p.m. J, approval of a park facility and right-of-way use permit for Bisbee Vogue, Inc. for the use of various city streets, parking spaces, and staircases for the Bisbee 1000 stair climb on Saturday, October 9th, 2019 from 5 p.m., from 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. This includes setup and breakdown. K, approval of the park facility and right-of-way use permit for Bisbee Vogue, Inc. for the use of City Park, the Bisbee 1000 stair climb on Saturday, October 18th, 2019 from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m.
Excuse me, Mayor, just a correction, it's the 19th, October 19th for both those dates.
What did I say?
18. You're only a day off.
Good catch.
Sorry.
So the record is now clear, thank you. From 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. L, approval of a park facility right-of-way use permit for the Boys and Girls Club of Bisbee for the use of Arizona Street between Congdon and Rupe Street for the Friday night cackle to be held on Friday, August 30th, 2019 from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. M, approval of a park facility right-of-way use permit for the Boys and Girls Club of Bisbee for the use of Arizona Street between Briggs Avenue and Ruby Street for the 11th Avenue annual Cars and Bikes on Arizona Street show to be held on Saturday, August 31st, 2019 from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. N, approval of the special event liquor license application submitted for an event to be held at St. John's Episcopal Church, Parish Hall, located at 19 Sowells, Bisbee, Arizona, on Saturday, June 1st, 2019, from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Kim Kennedy, applicant. O, approval of the special event liquor license application submitted by Turn Your Life Around for an event to be held at City Park on Saturday, May 25th, 2019, from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. Sam Donaldson, applicant. P, approval of the special event liquor license application submitted by Bisbee Vogue, Inc. for an event to be held at St. Patrick's Church on Saturday, October 19th, 2019, from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Cynthia Conroy, applicant. Council, does anybody wish any item forward for further discussion?
I have a question, if I can ask.
Yes, we need to pull it for your question.
Oh, okay.
Which one are we?
I'm guessing it would be J.
J? Item J will be pulled for discussion. Any other items? Okay, can I have a motion?
I move that we approve the consent agenda items A through I and K through P.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion, we have a second. Ms. Coronado?
I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Why do we wait so long to approve minutes? Like, there's like a whole slew of minutes, I'm just wondering why.
It's time, honestly. We just have not been able to get all the minutes completed with everything going on.
Yeah, the clerks do that literally almost in spare time, as time allows to listen. They have to listen to the meetings and type it out, so that's the reason.
It's hard to approve minutes from May of 18 when I guess we don't really know what we're approving, technically. So, I mean, I guess if we could try to get those a little sooner, I guess that'd be easier to approve them rather than a year.
And that's the game plan, they're catching up. Okay, Ms. Coronado?
Councilmember Lindstrom?
Aye?
Councilmember Giacomino?
Aye.
Councilmember Higgins?
Aye.
Councilmember Johns?
Aye.
Councilmember Hanson?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein?
Aye.
Mayor Smith?
Aye, motion passes unanimously. Item, and I'm sorry, Ms. J. Item J would be approval of the park facility right-of-way use permit for Bisbee Vogue for the use of various city streets, parking spaces, and staircases for the Bisbee 1000 stair climb on Saturday, October 19th, 2019, from 5 a.m. to 8 p.m., including setup and breakdown. Yes, ma'am.
My question was just if we have the ability to do anything about Mr. Law's issue last time, if we can amend it so that people can't be in front of the shop using the megaphone or whatever was happening with him. I don't know, I'm just asking if we can help him out with that. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. We will have a conversation with the event organizer with regard to that. Obviously, this is a matter of being a good neighbor to a next-door neighbor business that's trying to keep their shop open and make a living. So I believe that if the police chief and I have that conversation with the organizer of Bisbee Vogue and the Bisbee 1000.
I'm here to answer any questions about that.
Okay.
I don't believe there are any, but thank you.
Yeah.
There's no questions? It seems like there is a question.
Well, we will, Albert and I will talk with you about that if you want to stick around. And is he still here?
Can we make an appointment? I mean, how long is that gonna take?
Yeah, it would, you can call in the morning and make an appointment. You might want to chat with Andrew too, as long as you're still both here, sometime after the meeting adjourns.
I can talk to Andrew tomorrow.
Okay. And then, if you're going to be around till the end of the meeting, you can make an appointment with Alan and I too. Or excuse me, Albert.
I'll call you in the morning.
Okay, that'll be great.
Okay, great.
Covered.
I move we approve item J.
Great, do I have a second? Second. Thank you, sir. Ms. Coronado?
Councilmember Lindstrom?
Aye?
Councilmember Giacomino?
Aye.
Councilmember Higgins?
Nay.
Councilmember Johns?
Aye.
Councilmember Hanson?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein?
Aye.
Mayor Smith?
Motion passes 6-1.
Thank you.
Moving on to new business. Item number 3, presentation by Jacobs Engineering on the wastewater treatment plant. Mr. Coughlin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Two representatives here from Jacobs, and they have a presentation to show you and to talk about what they're doing in the wastewater treatment. Go ahead, Chris.
You're kind of a tall guy, you may need to flip that mic.
Maybe all right.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to, it'll slip out if you want to hold it. There you go.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. We thought, last time we met was on the 20th, and that night we talked about what we would do in the first 3-4 months as our partnership started. Tonight we're here to kind of update you where we're at and what we've accomplished in the first 4 months. We'll go through things like next.
No, not yet. I'm trying to get
Change
to it.
slide.
I'm sorry. There we go.
We're talking about staffing. We looked at hiring 4 full-time staff on board and focused on local hires in the community. We talked about safety at that time, what we're gonna do to bring our safety culture into the wastewater treatment facility. Maintenance activities, we've talked about how we're going to incorporate a asset management program so that we can track your assets over time and determine when it's best to replace those assets. We talked about process control and improvements, one of those being data collection. And then what we didn't talk about at that time is the wet testing consent order that the City of Bisbee received. And then at the end, we have what I'm really passionate about is a virtual tour of your wastewater facility. Next slide, please. So staffing. So within the first 4 months, the staffing that we've hired, all 4 staff members were fully staffed, passionate operators. They're all working together as a team, doing real successful together. And we're lucky to find 3 of those that are local to Bisbee. One of them was he moved here from New England on his own, young kid, and he went to career, and we're helping him with that. And he's been real successful. And let me step back a minute. Again, Chris Maines, regional manager, that was introduced here in November 20th. This is Carl Stevens, project manager, came out of Texas, and he's a wastewater guru. I've been doing it for 29 years, and I think that I've met my challenge. I'll continue. With the last staffing, or with the staffing we've had on board, they all have received around 823 hours of training around maintenance, safety, compliance, process control, administration, you name it. And that came from folks all the way from the East Coast to the West Coast to the Midwest that came in for the first 4 months and provided that training to get everybody up to speed on how Jacob operates and learn critical practices to our operation, especially safety. We're a beyond zero company, which means our target is to go above and beyond the safety norm. Daily, we plan out our routine with pre-task plans, and we make sure that all hazards are mitigated throughout the day. So I'm going to pass it over to Paul now, and he's going to talk about a few more slides.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Next one. So again, to highlight, safety is very important to what we do. We try to take it home every day. And like as Chris said, every morning we start off with a pre-task plan, which we outline what we're going to do throughout the day. And it encompasses like our SOPs, our AHAs, which is activity and hazard analysis. We look at those, we evaluate it, we try to mitigate risk so that all of our staff members go home each day. We made some changes to the plan. We started painting and striking areas for elevation changes. We built some steps in the maintenance shops so that, as Mayor Smith kind of knows about the tripping hazards there, we created a PPE station for visitors. And as Chris said, we are very proactive with maintenance, and we took on like the safety building, the area, like with maintenance, groundwork. Some of the activities that have taken place since we started was we've identified the membranes for the aeration basins, and we are actively replacing each one of the membranes to ensure process stability throughout the life cycle. We have installed ubiquity radios for communication back from the headworks to the process building, and we have replaced some PLC equipment. On the effluent flow meter, we relocated it, and now we are kind of getting a true evaluation of what is coming in as well as exiting the facility. Next slide, please. We have identified 261 assets that has been incorporated into our management system, which is Maintenance Connection. And they generate work orders, it tracks our assets, any kind of corrective activities that can be placed on it, so it can help us determine if it's reached its life cycle. And then we have our critical inventory equipment, which is basically your blowers, your pumps, anything that's critical for the operation of the facility. And some process improvements. If you look at the picture on the right, that's a turbidity reading, and it's kind of like you measure particulates in the water, your water clarity. Just to let you know, distilled water is 0.22. The plant is currently operating at 0.5, and that's with no advanced filtration. That is strictly processed. The consent order, which was issued in December 2018, we kind of stepped in and helped organize with the city about some execution plans on how to better tackle the process. And through that, we did some sampling. So we replaced some sample tubing, some hoses. We did some maintenance on the UV system. We did some routine cleaning on the surge basin. And through that, at the time of this presentation, we had a verbal relief of the consent order, and we have now since received the termination letter from ADQ.
This next slide here is a virtual tour of your facility that we put together. And it's yours to use at your discretion. You can post it on your website, use it for local educational purposes, what have you. It's going to use in various ways. If you would, please.
wastewater treatment plant virtual tour. This facility is operated by a premier contract operations company, Jacobs. Jacobs is proud to partner with the city of Bisbee and lend our expertise in wastewater treatment. If wastewater enters the facility, it must first go through the headworks. The headworks removes debris and grit that would be detrimental to downstream processes if not removed. These screens and grit are sent to the landfill for disposal. The wastewater now flows to the sequencing batch reactor, or SBR. This SBR is a fill and draw activated sludge system for wastewater treatment. In this system, the wastewater is added to a single batch reactor, treated to remove undesirable components, and then discharged. These SBRs are a special form of activated sludge treatment in which all of the treatment process takes place in the reactor tank, and therefore clarifiers are not required. This process treats the wastewater in a batch mode, and each batch is sequenced through a series of treatment stations. Once the reactor tank is full, it behaves like a conventional activated sludge system, but without continuous influent or effluent flow. The aeration and mixing is discontinued after the biological reactions are complete and the biomass settles. Once settled and digested, the clear water is sent to the decant surge basin. The clear effluent now flows to the UV ultraviolet disinfection system. This system ensures that all pathogenic bacteria have been destroyed. The entire treatment process yields a crystal clear effluent. This effluent is discharged to the Green Bush Draw receiving stream. It is also ready for reuse when needed. Once the solids from the process are digested, they are removed and sent to a belt filter press for dewatering. This process removes excess water from the biosolids. These dried biosolids are now placed in a roll-off and sent to the landfill for final disposal. Although not managed by Jacobs, this solar array provides a good feed of power back into the system. At Jacobs, sustainability is a very important concept for us. This solar array is a perfect example of sustainability. At Jacobs, our #1 priority is safety. All of our associates receive safety training on a regular basis, provided by our safety professionals. Jacobs and our talented team of associates are proud to partner with the city of Bisbee, Arizona. Our goal is to exceed your expectations for contract operations.
So look ahead in opportunities. Well, we'll continue replacing the membranes in the SBR because all that does is create better efficiencies out of your blowers and better process operations. It'll reduce the stress on your blowers so they don't run as frequently. I know Carl and his staff has replaced 2 grids so far. We got several more to go. And what we found on those grids is a lot of plugging. So what was happening was blowers were being called on, not because of process need, but because of plugging of the system. So we'll continue to replace those. Some opportunities is community involvement and support. In every community that we work with, we look for these opportunities, whether it be STEM-related participation, activities that we can be involved with, and local cleanups, you name it. So we're looking for feedback from the locals, citizens, and yourself on how we can support that and where your needs are. We recently replaced a PLC, programmable logical controller, in your aeration system. So prior to us replacing it, your blowers are running in a manual operation. And your DO, dissolved oxygen sensors were set at a certain set point at 6. Well, by us replacing it, now we can run that system in auto, calling for less blower time on your system, which is improved operations and improved efficiency on your blowers and less power usage as well. And it kind of ties into the replacing of membranes as well. So as we continue to do that, you'll see a significant decrease, we're hoping, in your energy usage. Looking forward again, schedule meetings with your collections crew. So there's a connection there, and what the collections crew does out in the system is very important to mitigate any sewer overflows that may occur, and keeping the system clean of fats, oil, and greases. Well, we thought it'd be a good idea to meet with them regularly and just get an idea of where they're going to be at in the city and what kind of material may be heading our way at the treatment plant, so that we can head off any upsets at the treatment plant before they occur. So it's a leading indicator by us meeting with your collection crew weekly. And then also look at a biosolids drying pad to reduce the amount of water being hauled off the landfill. Currently, there's 85% water being hauled off. We're looking at opportunities to dry it and potentially use it for beneficial reuse, which might tie in well with Bisbee bloomers for flower beds and just regular gardening activities in the community. So that's something that we're in the stage of doing now. We have a regional expert, biosolids expert on site, and he's evaluating how we can do that, install a pad, dry the solids, and then potentially compost that with mulch of some sort for beneficial reuse. So with that, I thank you for your opportunity and allowing us to present for you. And with that, if you have any questions for us.
Christopher, thank you so much. It's certainly beneficial. I can indicate Mr. Faulkner and I have visited your site, and I won't speak for Mr. Faulkner, although we did discuss it afterwards. We were both very impressed that the cleanliness, the organization, so we greatly appreciate, I greatly appreciate your assistance on this. Council, do you have any questions?
I had one question, actually, you kind of addressed it at the end. I know Sierra Vista does a great compost, and they have, I think it's associated with wastewater treatment, where you can go fill up your truck with compost for like $10 or $15. I think it'd be great if we could start doing that here, and you addressed that at the end, so that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and we do that at some facilities where the community come in and get a 5-gallon bucket full and use it for their gardens. We want to make sure that we monitor it accurately so that it is a Class A material and to eliminate any kind of vector attraction and things like that. But yeah, certainly.
Yeah, originally when that was looked at, we didn't have the green material, enough green material to mix up with it. So that's kind of why, everybody trim your trees.
Well, with the recent fire wise, that's
You bet.
You're right there, chipped up.
That's a great idea. Anything else? Excellent. Thank you, John. Item number 4, discussion of possible recommendation to council to move a portion of insurance reimbursement from the City Hall fire to a committed fund balance account line in the general fund. Ms. Bagler?
Mayor and council, this is the, recommendation to move, $2 million of the insurance reimbursement into a committed fund balance. It would show on page 2 of the financial statements, under fund equity, as committed, City Hall fire insurance. And that's based on, the reimbursement amount, less what we've already spent, and then I just rounded it off to even $2 million instead of $2,050,000.
Questions? This is what we first discussed like a year ago.
Right, so it will just make it easy to see.
You bet. Exactly. Okay, no questions?
I move to approve the transfer of $2 million of the insurance reimbursement for the City Hall fire from fund balance into committed fund balance, City Hall, and the general fund.
Second. Thank you. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
John? No? All those opposed signify same sign. It passes. I'm not sure if it's 6-1 or 7.
I consider it unanimous.
I think she hung up.
I think it looks like it's fine right now. There's no green light anymore.
Yeah.
So we lost connection.
Well, and then it passes 6-0. Discussion and possible direction to staff regarding the hands-free ordinance. I asked for this to be put on because of some recent legislation and law that has passed. On April 22nd, the governor signed a bill on an emergency measure that indicated that a statewide hands-free ordinance would go into effect. However, that ordinance is to provide warnings only until December 31st of 2020. And on January 1st of 2021, citations could be issued. We have had a hands-free ordinance in place for, what, 3 months? The legislature has also indicated that those jurisdictions that already have one in place can keep theirs in place and go ahead and utilize it as if this ordinance hadn't, if this law hadn't passed, as long as our ordinance was in effect at the time that this passed. Or they can opt just to follow state law and not do anything until the 1st of January 2021. And I wanted to bring this up because I believe that we need, this is in place, and that we as well as, I believe, I'm aware of no community that has passed this that is stepping back at this particular point. They're all keeping their ordinance in place. And so I would like to make sure that we know of this situation and that we just simply keep the ordinance in place as it is, which of course would require no action on our part. Although it is nice that we have a new public works director, because I will indicate that should we continue with this, we need to get 6 signs done saying that Bisbee is a hand-free zone and that there are penalties under our particular ordinance, and get those up at our city limits at all 6 entrances to Bisbee. So any discussion, Council? Okay, requires no action. I think the staff's got the direction.
We've got it.
All right, sir. City manager's report, Mr. Parkman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening again. The first 2 items of my report this evening are related. When we were when I first got back about a month and a half ago, the question of how we were collecting our TPT, transaction privilege tax, or otherwise known as sales tax, may not be the way we had been doing it. And there was some discussion over whether we were doing it correctly or not, and I got voluntold that we should do a little bit of research on it. And I was not sure exactly how much research we'd be able to do on the sales tax that goes back literally to almost the time we became a city, but it turned out that wasn't quite as hard as we first thought that it would be, especially considering that we had lost some of those records in the fire. So we collect a total of 3.5%. And this is just the TPT, or the sales tax. This is exclusive of any other tax collections, of which 2% goes to the general fund, 1% goes to street resurfacing, and 0.5% goes to the wastewater fund. There was some concern expressed that there should have been a 1% TPT being collected for the benefit of the wastewater fund, approved by the voters around in 1972. The clerk's office was able to find 2 ordinances from 1971 and 1973 in which the council enacted a 2% TPT and other tax regulations, and repealing all previous ordinances. Further, we contacted the Arizona Department of Revenue, who confirmed that these ordinances exist in their records and supplied further historical information going back to 1962. In every case, the TPT enacted by the council is 2%. all, quoting the ordinances, to be used in defraying the necessary expenses of the city, unquote. Therefore, we are confident that the TBT that we are currently collecting is being used legally and appropriately and has been for some time. Now, related to item 1, the question also arose as to whether the council had the authority to enact these ordinances without a vote of the people. Before 1988, Bisbee was a statutory city. That means operating under the laws of Title IX of, I believe, Title IX of the state constitution, and not under its own charter. And when you're a statutory city in Arizona, including today, you have the authority to enact a transaction privilege tax by ordinance without a vote of the people. Now, when this city organized and adopted its charter in 1988, the charter provided that all changes in taxes were to be adopted by a vote of the people. Therefore, we must now put tax increases on the ballot in similar fashion to the 1% sales tax that we enacted in 2014 for street resurfacing. So a little bit of history and a little bit of review of the laws that exists and how it interacts with the state laws and the cities in Arizona. So bottom line is everything is correct as it was adopted, and everything was adopted legally by the city councils at those particular points in time. So we're all good. Item 3, just an update on the city manager recruitment. The advertising for the position closed on April 30th. 23 candidates applied. Staff is in the process of doing the initial screening, and we'll separate the candidates who meet the minimum qualifications in the position description from those who don't. However, all of them will be available to the mayor and council for review. They are ready now, and what we would suggest is that sometime between now and May 14th, that gives you a week, we would like you to come down to City Hall and look at them. We will provide you with a mechanism to rank those applications as you see them, and that will be used to some degree in determining on May 14th, we will have a special meeting at 5:30, and that will be for the purpose of narrowing the candidates to those who you wish to interview. This is your process, so you're going to tell us who you want to interview. Like I say, we'll have them ready at your convenience during the hours we are open, but we would like to have that done before we meet again on May 14th. The May 14th meeting will have a executive session component, since we'll be talking about people who have applied for this job and background information that we've accumulated to that point on the candidates. That will be done in executive session. When you come out of executive session, you will have the prerogative to name the people who you wish to interview, and then we will go from there as we have scheduled in the schedule that we laid out a couple months ago to schedule the interviews for those candidates. So we're getting fairly well along in the process now, and I'm sure that from the initial reviews that we've done, there are several good candidates from which you can interview and hopefully make a decision on a new city manager. So, and the last thing that I have for tonight is, let me be the 10th to announce that we have hired a new public works director. Jesus Haro is actually a veteran in public works. He started out working in the city of Casa Grande in various public works positions there. He went on to do some work in Gila Bend, or excuse me, before that he went to Pinal County, which Casa Grande is in, and worked there in various engineering capacities, and most recently was the Public Works Director in Gila Bend. So, if you would like, Jesus, come on up and introduce yourself.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. First off, I'd like to thank Mr. Calkin, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity to serve the community of Gila Bend. I look forward to working with council and staff.
We have fun.
I was there.
Could be Winslow too.
I apologize, you missed me. I look forward to working with council and staff and the community. I also want to thank and show my appreciation for the warm welcome, and just I look forward to working with all you.
Thank you.
I want you to know that he hit the ground running a week ago. Tuesday was his first day, with very, very little interference on my part. He's already started identifying and seeking solutions to some of the problems that we haven't been able to tackle during the period which we didn't have a Public Works Director. So he's learning very quickly how Old Bisbee was built, and some of the things that are over 100 years old that quite possibly need to be rebuilt. And he and the rest of the Public Works crew are hard at work, and I am satisfied that we've got the right person for the job for a long time to come. And Mr. Mayor, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Council comments, Mr. Lindstrom.
Yeah, I just have a couple things. First off, these little flyers for the Rattler Run, it's called, for the Community Montessori School. It's their 5K fundraiser this year. It's gonna be at the golf course on May 18th. They're gonna be a kid run and also an adult run. There's gonna be some pretty good prizes donated from businesses around Disney. And right now, there's not many people, so you have a good chance of winning, so sign up. And it also gives us a chance to see the golf course. They're doing a lot of good things down there, and good food, and there's gonna be a live band. So if you get a chance on the 18th, come out and support the Montessori School, because it's a good school, and they do good things for kids. My second thing is coming to the Design and Review Board. I've had several people on the board, express their concerns as to why Ken Budge is not back as their leader on the board. I believe they're in a process of writing a letter of, support of the board, and they're going to present that to council in the next meeting. And I think the main reason for frustration is kind of a lack of transparency as to why he's not there. And if there is a good reason why, then maybe we need to know. And then if there's not a good reason why, then maybe he needs to be put back as the leader of the board, which I think most of the board wants anyways. We are elected officials, so we need to listen to our constituents and our board members. And from what I've seen, the majority of the board wants Ken Budge back on. So we can look into that or have a reason why. And I think that needs to happen fairly soon, so hopefully maybe this week we can have a good reason as to why he's not on the board. And if not, then maybe we can properly put him back on the board. That's all I got.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. There's no motion. Signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Please stand adjourned.